say we. And when I analyze my poor language, maybe, that is why they say should be able and not say will be. That is maybe the idea of that not targeting 100%.
And,
so
and there is a wire in the lesson plan. Yes. You even indicate those people with disabilities.
Yes.
So that if there is that degree of people who are, you have indicated for them because you have indicated them somewhere.
Yes. Okay,
and because I'm sorry.
No, not to say sorry. We are.
I'm coming too much in this thing. It's also because of my education and my background experience, etc.
No, that is what our colleague shared with you. In the former system,
yeah, exactly.
My relative will be achieved for 70%.
But I'm always updated on all those things. And if you read Cole, if you read Binance and all those guys, and even the latest, you have this.
But
one thing is, instead of mixing those who cannot, with spare vision, put them in a class, another class.
That is a special.
Instead of mixing them with others.
No.
Said we need exclusive education. We should not put a percentage in our objectives.
Yes.
Because we need. It's a requirement for all students to pass. To pass to get the understanding of what I'm teaching. But this is hypothetically not possible. Why? Because some parameters may not allow the students to come into class. For example, when they're sick.
But my question
is it achievement of the objectives by all learners percentage, all learners actually. When you mention all learners, it means those who are present, those who are teaching will be.
And this morning we had a debate, a very, very hot debate, talk over this formulation of objectives.
Yeah.
The most important aspect of the debate was to see how an objective, a lesson objective can be well formulated. And it depends on subjects. We have some scientists, those who teach science subjects, they said they just kind of take it at their level to have a very special way of formulating with keywords only. On the other hand, in other subjects, they said, look, it's not enough to have only keywords, to have it in a telegraphic style, but they need to have a subject. The objective needs to be well formulated in correct grammar, with correct verbs. The verbs to use in the formulation objective must be action verbs, which are well also conjugated in order to make sure that the student teacher who's learning to become a teacher knows very well and how he or she is going to implement this in the classroom. If this is not done, it's obvious that in most classes, the failure of knowledge important to students is not there.
Okay, you said that there was a hot debate over that subject.
Yes.
What was your standpoint over this subject?
Yes, thank you for the question. Some of the points of views were that, look, we don't need to have a specification because, for example, many of participants were of the view that you need to have an objective that is 100%, that all students, for example, must learn or must understand and must be able to do this particular job, the skills. If, for example, the student has to know how to calculate, for example, integers, or to have a description of a parabola, a curve, that is what they have to do. That is, all students have to get to that. And that is where the point of discussion started. Because you can't say, for example, if you have 100 students, there are students who are not there. There are students who will be sick. Of course, you prepare yourself to get everyone into the classroom to know it. But those are parameters which the teacher has to have in mind. Another point was that if some students are not included in the formulation of the objectives, that is giving the percentage of how many students will be successful at the end of a lesson of 40 minutes. Our case is in secondary school, because we are training to help to develop the skills, the teaching skills of our trainee, our student teachers who are important in high schools. And this is what we stood on.
So, if I get you well, your idea is that while elaborating learning objectives, we define a kind of percentage of students who will achieve learning outcomes. Is it true?
Yes.
While there are others who said all students should achieve learning objectives, learning outcomes at the end or by the end of my lesson.
Yes.
Why do you say that we should refer to a kind of or to some percentage?
Thank you very much for this point. It is true, when a teacher prepares for classes, the objectives should target all learners, maximum. If there are 50 students in the classroom, they have all to learn that. They have to be successful. They have to understand 100% my lesson based on my objective, because I want all of them to pass.
Yes.
All of them to understand the skill, to apply, to display the performance. But this is not realistic. Why? Because I may prepare myself, and once I get to classroom, I said 100% of all my students have to understand this skill.
Yeah.
They have to display this knowledge.
Yeah.
This is hypothetically not possible. Why? Because, of course, we are maximizing inclusive education. We need all students. Well, that's why some schools of thought said we need exclusive education. We should not put a percentage in our objectives.
Yes.
Because we need, it's a requirement for all students to pass, to pass to get the understanding of what I'm teaching. But this is hypothetically not possible. Why? Because some parameters may not allow the students to come into class. For example, when they're sick.
But my question is this: how will you evaluate that percentage to use? How will you know that such a percentage of learners will not be able to achieve learning outcomes, but ones will be able?
Beautiful. A beautiful, very interesting question. Yes, my target, my wish, my intention is that all students be successful in the understanding of the lesson I teach. On the other hand, this cannot work out 100%. Why? As I said it, some students may not be there for a reason which is unknown. For example, they fall sick, or they were coming. They had an accident, for example, on the road. That student will not come and learn. Of course, some other schools have thought that those who are not coming, those who have not come, you prepare something to support their education. But a lesson is like a football. The preparation is like the playground. The sheets, the plan, lesson plans, and all this, just like the playground. Just because it's like a playground, you are not going to position everybody elsewhere so that they get to the target to win the match. For this reason, we leave ourselves with the margin of impossibility of getting everybody to go in that lesson. Theoretically, we need 100%, but practically, this will not work. So, in my setting the objectives, I maximize the understanding, the application of my class to everyone. I don't need to hide knowledge to anyone. But if they are not there, and if I have 100 students, and only 50 or 60 students turn up, will you tell me that I have reached 100% when other students do not come for whatever reasons? That is where it is not workable, it is realistic. I said it is realistic. When I say realistic, I'm pointing to 100. In my objective formulation, I point to 100. 100% of learners. But that is, in reality, I may not get that 100%. That's why any objective, any lesson objective, according to my understanding, I strongly support that, will always maximize 100%, because in it I will have the overall objective, and you have the specific objectives under it. Those will take me step by step to get at least, if not at least, at most, all my students to understand. The second element in it, a factor which is very important, even if my students are all there in the classroom, despite all my methodology I have used, despite all the visual aids I have used, still some students will not get to have that objective mind getting. Why? There are barriers. There may be language barriers. If I'm teaching in English, if the learner doesn't know English, there will be a problem. They will not reach that objective. If I'm teaching another subject, again, this is the first element of language barrier. If they don't have the language, you will not have 100%. 100% in class after 40 minutes will not be possible. The third is, physically speaking, the students may be there in classroom. Learners may be there in classroom. But those learners, they have psychological noise. I mean, psychological noise. Learners who have problems because in their home, for example, the mother and the father, they fought the whole night. And the student wakes up to go to class. The student will, in the classroom, you count 100, but they will not be learning because they have difficulties, because they have noise caused by their affection of the mother and the father. That is a second parameter. That will not allow me to reach my 100% objectives. And the third is those who are psychologically maybe sick or who have any other problems. I call them noise in communication. Those will not allow you, the teacher in the classroom, to reach 100% with your objective.
Dr. Patrick, you have very brilliant ideas. This leads me to ask you to brief us on your academic profile.
The most important thing, I school in the US.
Yes.
I have a PhD from there. And in education, not any education, the philosophy of education. And I'm a linguist, and I am a linguist philosopher. So that is in brief. And I love teaching, I love education, and I love my students. I have around the world, maybe now from this country, I invested all my skills here. From 1997, I was based here, and I've been here, and I'm happy of this service.
The lesson plan, when you are planning, you don't plan for those who will be poor learners and talented learners. Another issue we have identified is related to formulation of learning objectives. a learning objective, a lesson objective should show the knowledge that learners are going to gain and the behavior, how they will demonstrate. And in that objective, demonstration of behavioral objective should be, there should be an action verb in that objective, showing what learners will be able to do during the lesson, and also conditions, under which conditions these learners will show the behavior. For example, if they will cycle, or they will show on the map, for example, that is the condition. If they have to be able to explain a concept and use it, that is an action verb. That is the behavior. And under which condition, if they will be using a map, you cannot, for the conditions, you can, in the formulation of the objective, you have to show which materials, which teaching aids.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Yes.
Okay, when you are elaborating learning objectives, do you use by the end of my lessons, or at the end of my lessons, all students will have or should have acquired, etc., or you use a percentage of your students? What do you use among the two?
Among the two, at the end, by the end, all, or a percentage? Is it that?
The percentage of the students, yes, or all students?
All students. You say at the end or by the end. When you say at the end, it means the objective can be achieved even in the middle, but at the end, when the lesson is ended, at least, okay, at the end of the lesson, an objective will have been achieved. But is it achievement of the objectives by all learners or a percentage? All learners, actually. When you mention all learners, it means those who are present, those who are teaching, will be able to achieve an objective.
So you don't use a percentage of students?
A percentage. If you use a percentage, you can say 100%, but that means all.
So don't you plan that there might be students who are absent, or who might be disabled, for example, hard to hearing or hard of hearing, who will not be able to capture your lesson?
Thank you for the good question. This, you predict that there might be some, you may not achieve the objective 100%, but we should not plan for failures. That's why you have an evaluation. When you plan a lesson, you plan for all learners to achieve the objectives, and you plan for activities to cater for all those different categories of learners, including poor learners. And then if you cater for them, you don't expect them to fail, achieve the objectives. But if it happens, that's why you have an evaluation component in the lesson lesson plan. In the evaluation, you have catered for all the categories of learners, but something happened that prevented the objective to be achieved by all learners. Then that's when you write what you have observed, the problem that you have encountered, that then you write that evaluation. The objective was not achieved 100%. Some learners, 2 learners got C. I mean, in all, I told you, in all learners will be able to do this. They all means those who are in the lesson. Those who are absent are not in that all because they are not there.
Okay.
So in all, it doesn't mean they're registered, but they're present in the lesson. So those who will fail due to different reasons, in the evaluation you will mention that, and then you will have to find a kind of remedial, to plan for remedial.
Okay, suppose it is in a hall where you are delivering your lecture. there might be some students who are going to sit in front of you, but because of loudspeaker cannot reach far in the hall, those of behind will not be able to listen well. Do you put into consideration those who are sitting behind who will not be able to listen to you well?
Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, when you are a teacher, you need to take into consideration the learning environment as well. In that situation, you might make groups or maybe find another poster. Where are you going to be standing when you will be, for example, explaining a concept? Or if you make groups, you make sure you monitor and support all learners in different corners. Because if you stand at one position and you have many learners and you don't have a loudspeaker or the equals, you are not teaching all the students, so you will fail to achieve your objectives. So when you have an objective, that is something that is going to help. I mean, you have the steps and the activities that you are going to manage, and the means by which you are going to use to achieve the objective. So reaching each learner, catering for each level or each need, learner's need, will help you to achieve the objective. But if you fail for different reasons you have not planned, evaluation will help you to know what you will do to support those next study.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.